This presenter started with her number one rule: what you hear in here stays in here. She explained to my daughter that if she is not 100% comfortable in her female body, then she's transgender.
Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. In today's episode, we have another example and video clip here from Libs of TikTok as well as Fox News that details a story here of a Colorado mother's middle school daughter being invited to a secret LGBTQ club that happened on campus and was told not to notify the parents. As always, folks, if you want to join us here at the Bald Brad Show, or heck, support a conservative, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. And with that being said, again, this comes from Fox News, and they say, a Colorado middle school hosted a Genders Sexualities Alliance club, also known as GSA, in which students were taught about LGBTQ-related issues and told to keep the conversation confidential, as if that's normal. A mother of a former student has claimed in a viral video, and we'll watch that video in just a moment. Erin Lee, whose daughter attended Wellington Middle School in Wellington, said during an interview with conservative media that her daughter was invited to the club by her art teacher last May, and that students in the club were told by an outside speaker that what you hear in here stays in here. Folks, how many videos have we done in the last month or so that talks about these LGBTQ activist teachers creating these clubs, having these meetings, whether they're on the books or not on the books, and telling kids not to discuss what's taking place in the meeting with their parent or guardian? That is not normal. That is not okay. That is weird. That is borderline grooming these kids, indoctrinating them, whatever you want to call it. It is not okay. Well, we have a Libs of TikTok clip from the actual Colorado mother herself explaining what took place inside this meeting and how it all went down.
And one day her trusted art and homeroom teacher invited her to stay after school for art club. So she texted us and we gave our permission. Of course you can stay for art club. When she arrived in the classroom that day, she very quickly learned that it was actually GSA.
I just want to point out there is a little bit of lag on the video. It's not you guys, it's not me. It's just how the video is working through Twitter, through Libs of TikTok. So it's not matching up. It's not us, okay?
A art club, or gender and sexuality awareness. And her trusted teacher had invited in an outside presenter to speak with the children. This presenter started with her number one rule: what you hear in here stays in here.
That's
she
weird.
Then brought out flags to describe different umbrella terms or defining words, as she called them, and how people feel under each of the flags. She explained to my daughter that if she is not 100% comfortable in her female body, then she's transgender. She then gave out flags, stickers, bracelets, and what she called the obligatory toys that kids love to collect everywhere I go. She then told the kids that parents aren't safe and that it's okay to lie to them about where they are in order to attend this meeting and also future programming that she holds throughout the community.
Look, I'll continue this in a moment, folks. We have done so many episodes on this, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I've seen this in real time. I've seen and heard about this in real time. We've shown evidence on the show of people discussing this. It's actually been in not lesson plans themselves, but almost in the meeting minutes, and there was backlash, and so they ended up removing that from the actual document itself. But they'll pretend, these LGBTQ activist teachers will pretend like this stuff is normal. And my question always is if it's normal, then why are you telling students not to discuss these things that are taking place in that club or that meeting with their parent or guardian? That to me is a huge no-no, and it's a huge red flag. Whatever's said in the classroom by a teacher or a student should be made known to anybody for the most part, okay? There's certain things that us as mandated reporters, as teacher, and for many of you that may or may not know, I'm a teacher myself. I teach high school mathematics. We're mandated reporters, so if we hear something and it meets a certain qualification of what we have to report, then we report it to the correct people. We don't go sit there and obviously tell people's, friends and best friends and stuff like that. So that's why I'm kind of being careful with my words. But for the most part, what a teacher said in the classroom should never be hidden from a parent, should never be said of, oh, don't tell people this. All that stuff is not normal when you have this taking place. And again, you have these LGBTQ teachers going out there and having some meetings that are never even on the books at the schools. So meaning if you were to ask about it, admin would be like, this doesn't exist. It's not even there. They don't have meetings like this. So they're doing certain things, folks, that is absolutely wild. It is wrong. It's incorrect. And, we need to sit there and continue to highlight these videos like this and bring out these parents, because everybody needs to be made aware that this could potentially be happening at your school site, and you need to know what's going on and ask your son or daughter what the heck's taking place at school.
Both online and in person. Some of the programming is actually includes adults. So she's got 12-year-olds in these meetings secretly with adults. She told the kids that she brought out the genderbread activity. I don't know if you've ever seen that before, but
I have.
The genderbread person activity, which explains that gender and sexuality are on a spectrum and that neither can ever be binary. It explicitly asked the kids who they're sexually attracted to. There was 11, 12, and 13-year-olds in the room when this happened. She doubled down that parents aren't safe, that heterosexuality and monogamy are not normal. And she then proceeded to hand out her personal contact information to the kids. Encouraging them to connect with her without their parents' knowledge, by cell phone, by email, weird. And by team chat platforms like WhatsApp and Discord, where parents can't see the communication. She also sends them invites to her secret meetings through these channels.
What the heck? That's like, again, as a teacher, big no-no. You don't give out your personal information. One, for obvious reasons, right? You don't want kids sending you inappropriate things or putting on some sort of mailing list or whatever the heck it may be. That's obvious. These are also minors, folks. I don't even care if it's a senior in high school and it's an 18-year-old. You don't just hand out your personal contacts. You don't go around parents. Like, all this stuff is so inappropriate. It is so weird. And somehow it's trying to be normalized by the left. And what I find also kind of weird is the left is consistently saying that the right is the one that's the extremists, that the right are the crazies. But I'm confused as to why are the left not willing to acknowledge that this is wrong? It's borderline extremely disgusting. It's definitely disgusting, but I don't know why you would think that this is okay to be having any sort of these types of conversations with minors, especially as an art teacher, and you're going to bring in somebody from the outside. This is so off-putting, and it's disappointing as an educator that there's people doing these types of things in our school system, because it gives the image that as if all teachers are like this. Again, I'm a teacher. I don't talk about stuff even remotely close to this. The closest I get to talking about any sort of sexuality is in a statistics class, talking about the statistics on marriage and doing some sort of regression line out of it, a whole calculation of married, divorced, single, actually using real statistical data so we can make real world problems that they would see in the real world, which is what we're supposed to do in terms of meeting California Common Core standards. But this stuff, as far as I'm aware, is not there. But let's kind of read further here and see what's going on. Well, she doubled down that parents aren't safe and the heterosexuality and monogamy are not normal. Completely not dealing with reality, which is so funny. Again, the left will say that the right is not dealing with reality, but heterosexuality and monogamy, heterosexuality and stuff is completely normal. It's been normal for all of human existence, but we're not going to face reality, because once we manipulate reality, then it makes us seem that the LGBTQ reality, meaning trans, that you could be a man, but in actuality you're a biological woman, that stuff, it's that's the new reality for them. Well, the school district confirmed the existence of the club and that conversations in it may be confidential, but declined to address the specific allegations made by Lee to protect the privacy of the student and their family. In PSD, we promise to create and uphold equitable, inclusive, and rigorous educational opportunities, outcomes, and experiences for all students, the district said in a statement to Fox News Digital. As a district, we are committed to making our schools safe spaces in which all students can learn. That's fine, but you shouldn't be hiding stuff from the parents. And when you have kind of the school dancing around what's taking place here, it should make you a little bit worried and a little bit nervous, as if they're supporting kind of what's going on here. Well, Genders and Sexualities Alliances, or GSAs, were established as safe spaces for members of the LGBTQIA+ community, allies, and any individual to come together with the goals of ensuring inclusivity, safety, and support. Discussion in GSAs may be confidential given that they can sometimes be sensitive in nature. Student may be out with specific friends, but not with the community at large. And I'm going to expand upon this because I have seen this in real life and I've talked about it at length on the show. In PSD and GSA Club could be student sponsored, which is started, run, led by a student and has an adult present at meetings, or school sponsored, which is started, run, led by an adult. The GSA at Wellington Middle School is a school sponsored. So basically, if the adult is in the classroom with minors, they have to go through certain procedures like background checks. They have to be fingerprinted, depending on the state, I believe. But you have to go through the DOJ, the FBI, stuff like that to make sure that you're legit, right? That you're not some pedophile or something, and that you can actually be around kids. Well, what's saying here is that a student may be out with specific friends, but not out with the community at large, is saying that that's why what's taking place in there, the conversations in there, are confidential. And the thing is, even with that in the classroom, is that you as a teacher, if you have a trans or LGBTQ kid student inside your classroom, but they're not out to everybody, you have to be very careful with how you talk to them. You have to be very careful if you're using the correct pronouns, if you're using the correct name. All these things a teacher has to be aware of, because they can actually be fired for this stuff. If you mispronounce somebody, if you misgender somebody, if you call them by the incorrect name, because on your roster, you have a very specific name through the system. And the only way that name could be changed is by the parents. But if the student never notifies the parents that they're trans, or they're going through something, or they switch their name in the classroom and they go by a name at home that's different, you would never know as a teacher unless that student told you, and you can't tell anybody else. So this stuff, folks, you're walking a fine line as a teacher nowadays. So again, it can't be all put on the teacher per se. This is wrong. I'm just saying in general, don't hate all teachers, don't come after all teachers. And I'm not saying you guys are, but I think we're in some really interesting territory within the education system right now that makes me a little bit worried as well, because I do this show. I'm open as a conservative, but in the classroom, I don't teach conservative ideas. I teach conservatism in terms of money. That's different, to conserve your money, to hold on to it so you can build retirement for a finance course that's elective. But as far as like teaching anything outside of stats, we don't really get into anything remotely like this. So I just don't want you to think that this is a normal thing in terms of a teacher doing this in all classrooms. This is specifically a certain type of group. I say LGBTQ activist teacher, because you can have an LGBTQ teacher that's not pushing the stuff in the classroom at all. And I think we should also be careful that there's teachers that we might see putting stuff on TikTok, but they're not teaching those things in the classroom. And I think if anybody were to see my classroom, I don't even have any decoration in my room. I have the American flag and that's it. If somebody were walking my room, and I've had people, friends friends and family say, hey, this doesn't even look anything like what I would expect from you, because you're so political in real life, right? You talk about philosophy, you talk about sciences, you talk about all sorts of things, especially on your YouTube show, but there's nothing that even show any of that in your classroom. And that's how I want it to be. I want it to be a classroom that's built for learning, that's not built around politics. It's not built around this stuff, because I'm not there to teach them that. I'm there to teach them mathematics. So even if you see a teacher put stuff online like I do here, I talk about issues that I find interesting, that I find meaningful, and I want to get my thoughts out, that doesn't mean that stuff's happening in the classroom. So I can't be clear enough, because I'm scared of losing my job at some point. I love teaching. I love all my students, regardless of who they are, regardless of race, regardless of ethnicity, regardless if they're trans, regardless if they're gay or queer. None of that matters. What matters to me is that I help them in their academics and I build them up for success so they can be successful in life. That's all I care about. I don't want to lose my job. And that's what I'm fearful nowadays, is that I'm doing a show like this on YouTube and that I might slip up and say something out of how many shows do I do a week? 14 plus. And somebody's going to say, oh, let's mark that 15-second segment out of the hours that he's done out of 230 plus episodes, and let's get the guy fired. When it's like, I don't talk about any of this stuff inside the classroom. So I just want to be aware of that. I know I'm ranting, but I can't be clear enough on that. So I think we should all be careful of spotting and trying to fire teachers for saying things online and just assuming that those types of thoughts and those types of words are coming out in the classroom, because that's just not true. Well, it says the district said it had addressed the issue with Lee on multiple occasions over the past year, and that her daughter is no longer enrolled in the district. Lee said in the interview with New American Magazine that her daughter is now attending a private Christian school and is doing much better. According to the parental rights group Parents Defunding Education, PDE, the club speaker's name is Kimberly Chambers. who is the director of Splash, Youth of Northern Colorado, and the Community Health Improvement Plan coordinator for Larmer County. And I'm probably mispronouncing that, so forgive me. Well, according to the email correspondence obtained by PDE between Chambers and the girl's art teacher, Chambers expressed concerns about the girl's well-being due to her mother's objections to the club. After the mother mentioned the girl hadn't been in school since the controversy arose, Chambers suggested talking to the school's admin about doing a well child check or whatever is with the policies of the school. Well, it sounds like at least the school itself, I believe Chambers, somebody's reaching out just to make sure the person's okay. And I don't have any problems with that. A lot of times we do wellness checks if we don't hear from a student for a while. If an admin can't get a hold of the parents, can't get a hold of the child, then you do wellness checks. That's something that's pretty normal. That wouldn't be strange to me if somebody reaching out and doing that. But I don't agree with this type of behavior. And you guys know my feelings on all of this. I just want us to start recognizing the differences between what's taking place in the classroom and what's taking place on social media. Obviously, this is something that's taking place on campus. And I think all of us are able to divide the aspect of this is not okay. This should not be something that's kept secret from the parents. If what takes place in the classroom should be available and readily known to parents, you shouldn't be telling kids to keep things hush hush. I understand that aspect of, hey, there's kids that haven't come out. There should be a safe space for them to come and talk. But that shouldn't be part of the idea of keeping it secret from the parents. So don't agree with it. I think it's wrong, but I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on everything that I said in terms of, hey, you know what? We got to be careful firing teachers, because Lauren Chen did an episode today of, I'm super stoked that somebody got fired. But I think there's more to this, and I don't think it's necessarily black and white. As somebody, again, that doesn't agree with this type of stuff being said in the classroom, done a ton of shows on it, I think we should just be careful in terms of just saying, I'm great, they're fired, get rid of them, boom, where it's like, did they get a warning first? Maybe they just said something. Maybe they are gay themselves and somebody asked them if they're looking to propose. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm proposing to my partner. And the student might be, oh, are you gay or something? And they might just say, yeah, I am. And leaving it at that, right? Some people would want them to get fired. I don't want them to get fired for that. Students will ask us questions all the time of, are you getting married, or are you going on a vacation with your wife or your girlfriend or your partner, whoever it may be. And I just don't want teachers to be fired for those types of things. Of course, I don't think those conversations should be going on at length and talking about LGBTQ plus issues. But I do think having a relationship with your students, for them to get to know you, for you not to be a stranger to them, if they're going to be listening to you every day, you want them to be able to trust you. And again, I'm not saying going into the sexuality stuff. That's not what I'm saying, folks. And I think I'm clear on that. But we need to be careful in terms of just firing teachers for having conversations about who they are. Because again, it's very important that you have a relationship, and a good relationship, a professional one, with your students. And they need to know who you are. You need to know who they are. It just helps so much with teaching. They're willing to listen to you. They're willing to do the work for you when they respect you and they know who you are. So we just have to walk that fine line as teachers. And sometimes mistakes are made, right? Maybe you go too far in talking a little bit about your personal life or whatever it may be. And I think we need to have those discussions and see if it's worthy of having somebody fired for certain discussions. And if it's not, that's all I mean by that. I don't want it to be black and white. Like, this person said something about gay, boom, they're gone. I don't think that's right. I think you need to walk that fine line of, hey, me and my partner are going to get married, if you're talking about a gay couple, and leaving it at that. I work with gay people. So if they always describe it as a partner. That's why I utilize that language so clearly. They say, oh, me and my partner went out. They don't say, oh, me and my husband or whatever. So even they're pretty careful with their language. If it goes on beyond that of students asking inappropriate questions and you're just willing to answer those, I don't think that's correct. A teacher needs to be responsible and saying, hey, look, I'm uncomfortable answering that, or that's an off question. That's too private. Certain things like that. As a teacher, you need to be aware of that and just say, hey, cutting off the conversation right then and there. So let me know what you think about all that, folks. I want this to be more conversational. And as always, heck, it's good to see you all. I hope you're having a lovely week. And folks, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. And I'll see you later today here on The Bald Brad Show.